have too many pedals. I have so many pedals that I usually bring 2 pedal boards plugged in together when I'm playing a gig. I always tell myself, you've got enough pedals, don't buy more. But there's so many great sounds out there and so many great players that you're always going to come across a sound that you like, or a player is going to show you something that you love and a pedal that you like. That keeps happening. So one of my guitar teachers at the Collective Music School really raved about the Timmy distortion boost pedal, and I have a vintage Rat reissue, and I have a couple of those different models. I also have an MXR distortion pedal and probably a few different other distortion pedals lying around. And I just got the Octafuzz, which is kind of distortion plus pitch manipulation as well, which is pretty cool. So the idea of yet another distortion pedal, I wouldn't have predicted myself getting another one. However, based on what my guitar teacher told me about how this pedal operates, I was kind of sold on it, and having bought one, I agree, it's pretty invaluable. It's a boost and a frequency cut pedal as well as a gain pedal. So you've got 4 knobs on there. One is volume, one is gain, which allows you to add in more distortion, and the other 2 are frequency cut, which means that if you have them all the way up, you're not cutting any frequencies at all from the bass or the treble, and as you roll that down, you begin to cut bass and treble frequencies. So what this allows you to do is to adjust the sound going into the amplifier so that no matter what the amplifier sounds like, you can kind of still get to a consistent sound that you're comfortable playing with. And this was kind of appealing to me because sometimes, based on the amplifier that's at the venue or the practice space, the sound can really be a little different, and that can be frustrating. So often I'm messing with the distortion pedal or the other pedals on the board, or I'm trying to adjust the tone knobs on my pickups, or I'm trying to do something to make it sound a little bit more like what I'm used to, and I don't always get there. But with the Timmy pedal, if the amp is extremely bright, for example, like I've played through a Fender amp at a practice space, and I'm trying to work with a beginner's trio where we're learning some jazz stuff, and really want a warmer, bassier sound with a little of the high end rolled off, and even having adjusted the guitar, I wasn't getting that from a really bright Fender amp. But this pedal, I can roll those high frequencies off and cut them, and I can do the opposite to the bass frequencies, which gives me a much warmer sound, so that even though the amp is brighter than other amps that I'm used to, I can still get the kind of sound that I want. And I found that adding that pedal into the line just gives me a much better sound, a sound I'm more comfortable with. So just clicking the pedal on is not a huge change of the sound. It does feel a little bit boosted, which is the point. And just to show you what I mean by the frequency cut, if I begin to roll the treble frequency cut from right to left, you can already see that sounds a lot brighter. And all the way on the frequency, all the bright tones are coming through, all the high frequencies. Now I'm going to put that back to about 12 o'clock, and I'll start rolling the bass frequencies in. So putting the bass frequencies at about 12 o'clock, you can already see it's getting a little bassier, and let's just roll it all the way to the left. So you see instantly, it's like a master bass and treble control, because sometimes you can do that on the amplifier, but sometimes that doesn't even work. Going back to that Fender amp that I was using in the practice space, I rolled the bass pretty high and cut the treble, and it was still just too bright. With this pedal, I have a level of control that the amp and the guitar themselves don't give me. So for me, that just gives me a really nice warm tone that I can play a little bit of jazz on without feeling like the guitar is just a bit too jangly for that genre of music. Gives you a much warmer kind of sound that I was getting, which I really like. So that's the main use for the pedal for me, but you can get some cool distortion sounds out of it too. So let's roll up the gain a little bit. So with the gain at about 9 o'clock, very subtle and it's a nice little touch of crunch, which is kind of cool for a lot of rock, blues, or like a Stevie Ray Vaughan song where you don't want maybe that much distortion. Now if you roll the distortion up, the gain up a little bit more to say 12 o'clock. There, and this is with all the frequencies cut, so bass and treble are rolled all the way up, which means the maximum cutting of frequencies. Let's begin to roll those off and just bring in a bit more warmth and bass. Adding in more gain, so now we're at about 3 o'clock with the gain. You can see it really snarls, so it's a nice distortion sound. Now start to add in some more high and low frequencies. Okay, the maximum distortion now. And then rolling the frequency cutting all the way off so that all the frequencies are back in there with the distortion turned all the way up. It is pretty cool actually. Would I use this distortion sound more than any other sound? Maybe not, but here's the cool thing about it. If you're trying to limit how many pedals that you're carrying along with you, then not only can you get a little bit more control over the bass and treble and the warmth or the high end of your sound, regardless of the amp that's in the practice space or the gig venue, you also have some level of distortion that you can bring in from the same pedal. And then you can combine that distortion with another distortion pedal too, and you can get some pretty good layering effects too. But for me, the big selling point of the Timmy is just knowing that I have a little bit of peace of mind that I'm not going to end up with a really overly trebly or muffled sound, that I can have some sense of control over it. And knowing that it may not be exactly what a Rat sounds like, it sounds good enough from a distortion perspective that in certain circumstances I don't need to bring extra distortion pedals. This alone, combined with maybe a chorus, I'm good to go for some of the gigs that I might want to play. Now I understand, delving a little bit into the history, these used to be handmade. Maybe they're still handmade. I think MXR now does their own version of this, which is a little bit less expensive. The original version of this, it can be pretty expensive, but the version that I've got is, I think, $200 to $300 on eBay or Sweetwater or Reverb.com. I think you can find them for. But they all tend to come in slightly different colors, which is sort of cool because you can choose the color you want and something that kind of matches your own particular mood. So it makes them all a little bit unique. You can power them off a straightforward 9-volt power supply, like a one-spot. They don't take batteries. There's also a 3-way frequency cut switch, which gives you 3 different types of frequency cuts. One of them is asymmetrical and 2 are symmetrical, so that can adjust the sound a little bit. Some variation in sound there, but personally I haven't used that a whole lot. I tend to keep that in the middle. I'm not here to tell you that this is the distortion pedal that you need, that you can ditch your MXR distortion pedal or your Rat pedal, which are the 2 that I swear by. But I am here to tell you, if you want a little bit more peace of mind over controlling your sound regardless of what's in the place that you're playing, I think this is a pretty cool addition to your arsenal. So I highly recommend you pick one up. Okay, that's all I got for this week. And if you like what you see on the channel, as always, don't forget to click like, hit the subscribe button, and if you want to get a notification whenever I post a new video, which is usually Monday and Thursday, go ahead and click that bell icon when you're subscribing. And I hope to see you again in a future YouTube video. Alright.